Welcome to the Bike Talk with Dave podcast. I'm your host, Dave Mabel, and I really appreciate you tuning in. Instagram gets me. You know what I mean? Like those little guys in there somewhere deep in my phone, like they really seem to understand what I like to be fed. Why do I say this? Because when an ad showed up for the Moab Rocks mountain bike stage race, I just said, yes, that is cool. I got to find out more. And what that means when you have a podcast about all things bike, that means that you reach out to the race director to see if they want to come on, which is exactly what I did, and that's how I came to meet this week's guest, Aaron McConnell. Turns out, Moab Rocks is just one of 10 races and events Aaron offers to the world, which cumulatively form to create the Trans Rockies Race Series. That's 10 single-day and multi-day cycling and running events that combine for a total of 30 days of racing. Mountain bike stage races, multi-day ultra-marathon running events, gravel races, and even some road and gravel fondos, all crisscrossing different areas of the Great Rocky Mountains in both Canada and the USA. Are you curious yet? Well, so was I. So let's get into my conversation with Trans Rockies Race Series promoter, Aaron McConnell. Aaron McConnell, welcome to Bike Talk with Dave. I'm super excited to have you on, and mostly to find out for myself about all of your awesome events. You are with the Trans Rockies Challenge. Is that what we call it?
Well, it's Trans Rockies Race Series. It all started with an event called the Trans Rockies Challenge, but that was many years ago.
Well, I do like to dig up stuff from the past, so that makes sense. I actually stumbled across you from Instagram. Thank you, Instagram, for shoving stuff in front of my face that I want to digest. And it was a race in Moab, a multi-day mountain bike race in Moab. And I was like, whoa, that sounds super cool. And then did a little dive into you guys. I mean, you're busy year round. Tell me what Trans Rockies Race Series is, your elevator speech, and then we can dive into some of the events specifically.
Yeah, sounds great. We have been around actually since 2002 and started just with a mountain bike race, but it was a 7-day mountain bike stage race called the Trans Rockies Challenge, which at the time was called the hardest mountain bike race in the world.
If one day in the Rockies is hard, I've done Leadville a handful of times, and that's hard. 7 days through the Rockies sounds brutal. So yeah. I feel like that's a fair statement.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, we grew from there. We added trail running, so now we operate 10 events over 30 event days in a year in Western Canada and the U.S.
That's awesome. And the first event, the Trans Rockies Challenge, is still going?
Well, it's sort of transformed over the years. It's now called Single Track 6. So it's now a 6-day mountain bike stage race. And the original format was point to point, basically along the Continental Divide in Canada. And very remote, but all kinds of surfaces from trails to gravel roads to paved roads, and it was basically about the point-to-point journey, and it was based on the Transalps event in Europe, which is still going. But we changed the format up about 10 years ago. Called it Single Track 6, and what we wanted to do was highlight the best riding neighborhoods or riding towns basically in Western Canada. So that's what we've been doing in the more recent history with our mountain bike stage race.
So what are some of the places you hit? Where do you go?
We're mostly in the BC interior and a little bit in Alberta. We have moved the event to different locations over the past few years. But this last year, we were in a region called the West Kootenays, and towns of Nelson, Caslow, Castlegar, Nakusp, and New Denver, which are mostly really small communities, but with really amazing big trail networks that are super fun to ride.
So do you camp or hotel it, or what are the logistics? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, so for this one, it's sort of it's a bit choose your own adventure. We had designated campgrounds. So a lot of people were camping or had RVs, that sort of thing, and other people were in hotels or Airbnbs. The original Trans Rockies Challenge was all camping based, and we would set up the camp. We still do that with one of our running events, and we also have a gravel event that's camping based up here in Canada as well.
Oh, that sounds cool. Tell me about the distances. Like how hard how hard is it? Is it gonna kill you, or are they shorter fun days and party at night?
Um, I guess compared to the old days of the Trans Rockies Challenge, where we would have distances of over 100 kilometers, which is 60 miles a day, it's relatively easy now. But especially in the West Kootenays, it's a lot of elevation gain in a day. So most of our stages are up to about 1,500 meters, so 4 to 5,000 vertical feet in a stage. So a lot of climbing and then a lot of descending. But one thing we added this year with Single Track 6 is we offer a full pint and a half pint version.
Oh,
So the full pint is you ride the whole stage. The half pint you can ride part of the stage. So it's a little bit more accessible for some folks.
huh, very cool. And what time of year?
That one's in July, beginning of July.
Good time of year for being in the mountains of, I'll
Yeah,
call it the Northern Rockies,
for sure.
relative to where we are right in Des Moines, Iowa. Those are you're in the Great White North, eh?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, getting hot at that time of year, but yeah, it was beautiful this year. We moved the starts a little bit earlier, which kept everyone comfortable.
Well, let's stay on the mountain bike theme, and the one that got me all excited about this. Tell me about Moab.
Yeah, so Moab Rocks has been going for 10 years now. And it's a 3 day stage race all around Moab. So, um, yeah, there's no camps or anything like that. Everyone's just kind of on their own for accommodation, but we have three different routes that ride sort of classic Moab trails.
Like
And
Slick Rock and White Rim Trail. Like, do you know what trails you hit?
yeah, so the first day we use Porcupine Rim,
Hmm.
which is yeah, the bottom part of the whole enchilada. So you ride up past Slick Rock to get onto Porcupine, and then descend on Porcupine Rim. So that's definitely a classic ride.
Yep.
Um, Stage two, last year we moved it to the Bar M trails or the Moab brand trails. We've also run it previously on the Klondike network, which is a little bit further north of town. Um, and then stage three is in the Mag 7 area. So we start at the bottom of the Gemini Bridges Road and head up into the Mag 7 network. Use a whole bunch of single track up there, including Bull Run, Great Escape. Those are some fairly. They're not classic in terms of they've been around since the 80s, but it's definitely one of the more popular riding areas in Moab nowadays.
Awesome. And you said you're on your own for lodging. There's some great BLM camping just up past Slick Rock.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, a lot of people would be camping or in their vans or that sort of thing. And we do have hotel partners as well with some good rates.
Very cool. And time of year for that?
That is in the beginning of April.
Awesome. That's a great time of year for Moab, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a really good time. So April 5th to 7th this year, or
Perfect.
2025.
Um, but you don't just do mountain biking. You mentioned gravel, and I even saw some road. And one of the words that caught my eye was golden. And I was like, oh, I got a kid living in Colorado Springs now, so we can go stay with him and do the one in Golden. But you were talking about Golden. I don't even know what province it's in.
Yeah, it's British Columbia.
Canada,
Yeah, British Columbia. So
BC. Okay.
yeah, it's just across the border from us here in Calgary, Alberta. We drive 3 hours west on the Trans Canada Highway, and we get to Golden. And it's an awesome little mountain town with incredible trails. We're actually going to be there this weekend for a running event. But our mountain bike event is there in June, mid June, usually on the Father's Day weekend. It's called Golden Rush, and it's 8 hour and 12 hour races, both solo and teams.
On a loop.
Yeah, it's about a 14K loop, so it's like 8 or 9 miles, something like that.
I appreciate the conversion. Thank you.
Yeah,
Um, we do have. I think most of my listeners are in the U.S., but quite a few Canadian and quite a few European. So they will all appreciate the kilometer references and
yeah.
meters for sure. Um, and isn't there a Grand Fondo out of there? Some gravel out of the
That's
Golden
right.
area?
Not
Or
not golden per se. We have our gravel stage race is just a little ways south of there,
okay.
at a place called Nipica Mountain Resort. So again, it's right on the BC side of the Alberta BC border, but kind of remote backcountry. So we just had that event a couple weeks ago, and Nipica is just an incredible place. It's an eco resort, so they've got a whole bunch of like biking trails, Nordic ski trails in the winter, and groomed fat biking trails in the winter. But it connects to this spider web of Forest Service roads, because it's all area that is used for forestry. So we can put some great routes together on those Forest Service roads. And then everyone camps there at Nipica for 4 nights. And we provide all the catered meals. Shower truck comes in. We've got sort of a chill, we call it Chillville relaxation zone, where people hang out at night, that sort of thing. And it's just beautiful.
It sounds beautiful. What are the distances like? Details on this, please. Gravel's
Yeah. So
people get excited
gravel,
about gravel. That sounds like a really cool gravel event to make as a destination.
yeah, for sure. So it also has a full pint and a half pint now. So the full pint would usually be around 100 kilometers or 60 miles, and half pint probably more like 70 kilometers, 40 miles, something like that. That's per day.
Per day. And how many days again?
Well, there's 3 days of racing. So we've got an
Okay.
arrival day with a short shakeout ride, and then those 3 days would be those distances each day.
Over a long weekend.
Yeah,
Are you
yeah.
racing like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday, Monday?
Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Friday's the arrival day.
Awesome. That sounds really cool. Um, are we just had the whole discussion about conversion between metric and English. You're aware a pint is more of an English measurement, right?
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
right.
Just
We're,
checking. Liter,
we
half liter, deciliter, mecca. I don't know, but
I mean, we think in terms of beer, so
oh,
uh,
fair enough. You guys drink beer by the pint?
yeah, exactly.
Awesome. That's
Yeah,
universal then. I love it.
so
I
yeah, we
love
figured most people would understand a pint
it.
versus a
We
half.
do. We do indeed. We do. Uh, what else you got? I didn't dive super deep into your website, but I would encourage people to at transrockies.com.
Yeah.
But I definitely saw some road bike action.
Yeah, we've got a couple road Grand Fondos. So one is again back in Moab. So we actually call it. It used to be called Grand Fondo Moab, and we took it over from Poison Spider Bicycles
Oh,
just a
cool.
couple of years ago. They founded that event, and they didn't want to do all the work to put it on every year. So we took it over from them a couple of years ago, and then we added a gravel day as well. So the road fondo is on the Saturday, gravel is on the Sunday. Um, and the road fondo, the normal route is currently under construction. We're hoping that we're going to be on it back on it next year or the year after, but it's the LaSalle Mountain Loop Road, which takes you up quite high in the LaSalle Mountains. If you ever have done the whole enchilada, you're up in that alpine territory, above the desert, which is really cool. Um, and this year we had to use a different route because of the repaving that's happening there, and we headed up out towards Dead Horse Point and turned around and came back, which is also another really nice scenic ride. Lots of good views, and then yeah, the gravel ride on Sunday as well, which we just started last year.
That sounds awesome. You could bring your all surfaces bike and put on some skinny tires or just pump them up real high for the road and
Exactly.
let a little air out, or put some fatter tires on for the gravel, and really have a great weekend. Moab's
Yeah.
awesome. I've only been once, and I made my wife cry there, but it we stayed up off of. It's been so long since I've been there, I can't remember the name of the road, but it's the road that goes up past Slick Rock and then up into the BLM land.
Yep. Sand Flats Road. Yeah.
Sand Flats Road, thank you. Yep. And oh my gosh, it was just like during the day. If you've never been to the desert, and I grew up in the Midwest, I have spent some time in the mountains, but even time in the mountains, I don't remember the absolute stillness and silence
Hmm.
of the desert. And being, I don't know, 3 4 miles up that Sand Flats Road, and just hanging out there during the day, and it was hot, and not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. But I remember hearing my heartbeat and just being astounded at the silence and never experiencing that. So for that alone, head on up Sand Flats Road and take a break and ride back down into Moab and have a beer,
Yeah. Yeah.
have a pint.
Moab's a
But
special place. We like it a lot.
yeah, what brought you into? Well, let's start here. What brought you in? Poison Spider was putting on an event and said, "Dang, this is a lot of work," and you're like, "Hey, we're going to add it to our other 30 days that we've got." Um, it's a ton of work putting on races. What got you into this?
Yeah. We must be slow learners or something. I don't know.
Or have short memory. Like as soon
Yeah.
as the event's over, all we can think about is how fun it was, and not the work that we put into doing it. But
Well, exactly. And yeah, we do love it. And you know what we've found, we operate all these events. We have a warehouse in Canada and storage down in the US, and over time we just sort of develop systems, and we have crew that comes to a lot of the events. So things start to become a little bit easier when you can when everyone knows their job, and you can kind of rinse and repeat, and um, not have to kind of stress all the details like it's the first time.
mm-hmm,
And some of the events that we own, we have taken over from other organizers that have done it on the side, and really have done it out of passion and love. And but once you get into it, you realize how much work it is, and that then that time of year comes around again, and and you got to work your butt off, and sometimes not really make any money. Um,
You hope you
so
do.
yeah, I mean, what we're trying to do is kind of produce events at a high level, that you know are not just a great adventure on a bike or on your feet, but um, provide a sense of community and a very special experience. So we get a lot out of doing that and creating those experiences for people, and we try to build our season in a way that makes sense from a business perspective for us.
Yeah, and I haven't even asked you about the running events. Are they all like ultra marathon type of thing? Off-road
Um,
trail runs? Like tell me about uh, what you got going on the feet.
yeah, so we've got four major trail running events. The biggest one's in Colorado. It's called Trans Rockies Run. So
Ooh,
it's
that
kind
sounds
of
hard.
Yeah, 6 days, 120 miles from Buena Vista to Beaver Creek, Colorado. And it's been running for 17 years now. Um, and then we have a running event in Moab as well, which is a 3 day, um, with full pint and half pint distances. Um, and then the one this weekend in Golden, British Columbia, it's called Golden Ultra, another 3 day with full pint and half pint. And then we have another 3 day in British Columbia in a place called Revelstoke, and it's called the Trans Selkirks Run, um, which is a 3 day with two distance options again.
How does a 3 day work in a run? That sounds
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. It's the same as the mountain bike race. It's just a stage race over 3 days. So
Whew.
yeah, the first day is a little bit shorter, usually on a Friday, and then Saturday be the long day. The long distance would be probably over a marathon, depending on the event, and then a little bit shorter again on Sunday. So yeah, it's 3 days of running, and you have a combined time over the 3 days for the stage race rankings.
Huh, wow, that sounds I'm gonna I should use the word fun to help you market your events, but it sounds brutal. Uh, short.
Well,
You said
that's
a shorter day on Friday, like a 10K, or are you doing like 20K? Like what's shorter?
well, the full pint might be like 20K, and the half pint might be 10 or something like that.
And then the Saturday might be a 50K
Yep,
ish.
50K for or 60 this weekend at Golden Ultra on the Saturday.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah, with some high alpine at that one too.
Yeah. Well, they sound beautiful. I think that'd be a really interesting and unique way to experience those mountain trails. Like when you're riding a bike, I mean, gravel's a little different, but when you're riding a mountain bike, you're watching where you're going,
Yeah,
and you're not always taking in the scenery. But and of course when you're running, you are too. But sometimes you might not be running super fast. You might be at a walking pace and have time to look around and really experience the mountains and um, I don't know, just in their full. I, I don't know. I'm trying to be all poetic, and I'm not doing a very good job. But just really immerse yourself in the kind of the breadth of the mountains
yeah.
in a long run like that through the mountains, especially 3 days. Like if you missed it on the first day, you'll find it on the second day. That sounds really cool. All of
Yeah.
those do. What have we missed? We've talked about your Golden, Moab, Moab, Trans Rockies
We have one
run.
other we have one other road Gran Fondo to tell you about, which is called Gran Fondo Badlands, and it's about an hour out of Calgary, um, sort of the opposite direction from the mountains, but quite a beautiful area as well. That's famous for dinosaur fossils and Badlands type topography, and it's now pretty much the biggest Grand Fondo in Alberta. We
Hmm.
had close to 1,000 riders last year.
Oh wow.
So that happens at the beginning of July as well.
Huh, cool. I did notice that one, and bad me for not remembering because I dove into it because I was like, oh, they got something through the Badlands, and I've spent some time in the Badlands of South Dakota, and I'm like, this looks really green. Oh, there's a Badlands in Canada. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Do you get a lot of riders and runners from the U.S. coming on up?
Yeah, we do. We get quite a few. Maybe up to 20 or 30% of the field, depending on the event,
Oh wow.
uh, from the U.S. and vice versa as well. We get a lot of Canadians at our Colorado and our Moab events.
So the title name is Trans Rockies Race Series. Is there a series? Do you have a series? Do you keep points or anything over the whole series, or it's just series because you guys are putting on a whole bunch of races?
Yeah, no, we don't have any kind of series ranking, at least not so far. It's yeah, an idea that I've toyed with a little bit, but yeah, hasn't uh, hasn't developed yet. So
Well, if you thought the Leadman belt buckle was hard, do all 30 days of your events.
exactly,
That
yeah,
would be a huge 1 year commitment to do all 30 days of your 10 events.
yeah. A friend of mine was going to do all of the stage races this year, and it just ended up being some personal stuff came up, and he couldn't quite do it. He would have been able to do it from a fitness perspective because that's just the kind of beast that he is. But we were calling it 24 and 24 because he was going to do 24 stage race stages in 2024. But yeah, I think that challenge remains out there to be claimed.
Oh wow, do you got a big old belt buckle for somebody who does that?
I would surely put one together. That's for sure.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Um, Tell me a good story from out of all of these events. You have to have seen everything under the sun. Give me a good story from one of your events that you remember.
Yeah. Wow. To pick just one is
You
is
don't
challenge.
have. It doesn't have to be your favorite. Just
Lots
one
of
you
crazy
you
stuff happen.
remember because you can never pick a favorite.
Yeah. Um, well, in the old days of Trans Rockies Challenge, there was a lot of really wild stuff happened because we were in the backcountry um, on wilderness routes, and there was one year where the race leaders got confused by the course markings and started to head basically straight up a mountain, up a scree slope, like an avalanche chute,
Oh,
and half of the field followed them,
oh boy.
or almost the whole field. And this is going back, at least 15 years or something, and a lot's changed since that time. But yeah, that was a pretty memorable one.
I am assuming they all made it out alive.
Yeah, they made it back to the course, and it's one thing that we are definitely careful with in the backcountry is trying to keep track of everyone, even if they do go off course.
Yep.
That sort of thing doesn't happen that much anymore. Um, we're pretty careful with our course marking and that sort of thing, and we're not often using real wilderness routes anymore. But yeah, lots of crazy stuff can happen.
Yeah, and GPS and long battery lives are awesome on
Yeah,
rides and runs like that.
yeah, it does help a lot.
Yep. What's your background? How'd you get into this?
Yeah, I was a bike racer all through my teens, mostly mountain biking in Western Canada here. Mostly cross country, but when I was racing, it was you'd race Saturday the cross country, and you'd lower your seat and race the downhill on Sunday on the same
Yep.
bike.
Yep.
Um, And then,
It's called evolution, by the way, the
yeah,
progress of how we used to race, for
yeah,
sure.
now we need 5 bikes. But
Right, right.
anyway, um, yeah, and then from that, I started to get into organizing events. Just started with small local races as a fundraiser for my cycling team, and then um, started to organize our national series, Canada Cup races, and then actually put in a bid for a World Cup. And we were awarded Mountain Bike World Cup in Canmore, Alberta,
Oh, sure.
for 3 years, 1998 to 2000.
You helped put that on?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, wow, that's a big deal, man. That is a
yeah.
huge deal.
Myself and my business partner did that, and that sort
Oh,
of,
you are um, actually crazy.
yeah, yeah. Well, and I was in my early 20s at that time too, so
Oh,
it
wow,
was,
that's
yeah,
ambitious.
yeah. It
Huh.
felt like I was biting off a pretty big chunk, but it kind of set me down a path of doing a lot of event management and worked with a few other event companies, uh, and then actually joined Trans Rockies when they were a couple years in, but after my World Cup experience, um, back in 2004. So yeah, it's been 20 years with Trans Rockies.
Huh. Wow. That's a great resume. I've had Dave Weens and Susan DiMattei on,
Hmm.
and I know that Canmore race was a big deal in their world, and I'm sure you saw them up there
Yep.
in those days, and you probably laid the groundwork for some Olympians from this side of the pond, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Alison Sidar was one of the big Canadian riders at that time, and she won at least one of the years. And other top Canadians were at those World Cup races.
Well, I would encourage people to look you up, pick one or all of your events. Aaron will make you a sweet belt buckle if you do all of the stages of the stage races, and experience Trans Rockies race series. I think it sounds awesome. I'm super excited. I'm going to see if we can fit something in our calendar in the coming year, even years. But they're definitely destination events.
Yeah, transrockies.com. The landing page there has links to all the individual sites for the events. And then on the socials, it's just best to go to @transrockies. And you'll find all our bike events there, or at Transrockies Running for the running events.
All right. Well, have a great ride tonight. I appreciate it.
Right on. Well, I hope you can make it out to one, Dave. It was really fun talking to you. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you on the trails sometime.
Thanks tons to Aaron for coming on and sharing all about the great events in the Trans Rockies Race Series. I know I'm excited to try and put one or more of those on my calendar in the future. I hope you can too. Dive into all the details at transrockies.com, and maybe you'll find yourself cycling through the beautiful Rocky Mountains. Now it's cross season, and I would love to invite you all to Capital City Cross. It's a great weekend of racing, September 21st and 22nd in Iowa's capital city of Des Moines. Come join the Bike Iowa racing team for a weekend of cyclocross and fun. And all the info you need is at bikeiowa.com. And I want to thank you for tuning in today. I appreciate it, and I would love if you would rate and review on your favorite podcast platform. And if you want to support the show financially, please feel free to drop some coins in the cup at buymeacoffee.com. Just look for Bike Talk with Dave. Give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook. You can watch on YouTube, and all the episodes are available at biketalk.bike. Thanks again for tuning in. I hope you have a great week. And remember that nothing compares with the simple pleasure of riding a bicycle.